Welcome, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. I have a very interesting guest, a little off the beaten path for our music guests today, but I will introduce you to him very soon. In the meantime, I want to thank some people that we always thank. We want to thank brassandwinds.com, a Quinn the Eskimo company. When we're looking for instruments, especially woodwind or brass, we always use brassandwinds.com. They've been very good to us, and they're the best in the business. We ask that you also give them a try at brassandwinds.com. We are Willow Music. We are a music school, and we currently operate online, although we are doing in person as the pandemic rolls away. We offer instruction in piano, voice, guitar, trombone, saxophone, and it can all be done virtually. So if you want to check us out, please go to Willow School Georgia, willowschoolga.com, and find the Willow Music tab. If you are shy and don't want to study with a person, please check us out at TruerMU, TRUERMU.com. You can learn how to play the piano for free. And if you want to go further, we have all sorts of offerings for you. TruerMU, start with us. I'd like to introduce you now to a friend of mine. He is a crisis consultant. It's a little different from what we usually offer on our show, but I think you'll find there's some good reasons for that. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Chris Budd. Chris, how are you doing?
Sorry, Christopher.
Christopher,
Sorry.
how are you doing? I promised to call you Christopher, and we started over. I'm just going to call you Christopher from now on. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine. Anyway,
Christopher Budd,
good
how
to
are
be
you?
here.
Good to see you.
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to see you too. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. My first question for you is, what is a crisis consultant?
A crisis consultant, for your listeners who may have seen the fine Quentin Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction, a crisis consultant is a lot like Mr. Wolf in that. It's someone that comes in when things are going wrong and basically says, sit down, shut up. If you do what we tell you and you're lucky, you'll get out of this alive.
Are you that abrupt and brusque with your clients?
No. I mean, you know, you make it nicer and friendlier, but that's the gist of it.
Okay. So what kind of clients do you have?
So I've been working in technology for 25 years. So my specialty is in the area of security and privacy incidents. So I was with the Microsoft Security Response Center for 10 years. Your listeners who use Windows, maybe not willingly, but who use Windows may be familiar with the monthly Patch Tuesday process where they get security updates from Microsoft every month. I helped build that. I also helped Microsoft build their global security and privacy incident response processes.
Well, if there are two questions I have. First of all, is and they may be related. One is how you got to become a crisis consultant, and two is how someone would become a crisis consultant. Can you answer those separately or together?
Sure. So I came into it sideways. You know, basically, I had an interest in computers that turned into an interest in networking, that turned into an interest in security, that turned into getting recruited for a job that almost no one wants.
Nobody wants to be a crisis consultant?
You know, so here's, in all seriousness, it's one of those things where people are built for it or they're not built for it. You know, one of my jobs when I was with Microsoft was to do interviews, and I was for the teams, and I was the one that was charged with assessing people for their fit, whether they had kind of the right stuff, if you will, and also trying to scare them away.
There's something religious about that, even.
Well, you know, here's the thing. One thing that we found, you know, I've joked that I worked in what was akin to a frontline combat unit, and you need the right personality in that space. The wrong person is actually worse than no one at all, because the wrong person turns into a body that you have to carry while you're doing your work and their work. Whereas if it's empty, it's just you doing your work and the open work.
Can I rephrase that? I think just want to make sure I understand. You're saying that if I run a company, I want to make sure my crisis consultant is the right kind of person for the job. Otherwise, they're not going to be consulting me on the crisis. They're going to become part of the crisis.
Exactly.
Okay.
How someone gets into it, you know, that's actually, it's rare that I'm stumped. I'm kind of stumped. I landed in it sideways. A lot of people just end up in this kind of the third step in a career chain. I got to it through security. I know a lot of people that have gotten into this through public service, police, fire, military, intelligence agencies.
Mhm.
Again, I come back to, it's something that the right person is just kind of almost drawn to it. And so if you want to do it, you'll kind of find your way there eventually.
So you find yourself very comfortable in this job.
I do.
So-
As one guy I used to work with put it, if I wasn't miserable, I'd be miserable.
Okay, so let's say your job is to hire a crisis consultant. What characteristics are you looking for?
So taking a step back, the first thing I would say is hiring a crisis person is something you want to have that kind of lined up beforehand. You don't want to be looking for someone in the midst of a crisis because, well, you've already got a crisis. The best things that you can look for in someone to help you manage a crisis are if they're calm, first and foremost, because you need people that not only can deal with stress but actually excel under stress. Again, this is why people with public service backgrounds, fire, police, military, I have none of those, except I did try out for volunteer firefighting a few years ago, but had to step out because of health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But being calm under pressure is important. Being able to see both small and big picture is important, because you need to be able to see what's happening here right now and focus closely on that. But you also have to understand how it interrelates to this, and this, and how sometimes pulling on something over here will achieve results over there.
Okay, so one of the reasons I'm bringing you on today, you're describing musicians. If you're hiring, musicians, of course, are often in the position of having to find some other work to do while they're working. And oftentimes they find it difficult to convince people that their skill set is worth something outside the music realm. But your description of what would make a good crisis consultant is exactly what musicians do. Do you recognize this, and would you hire a musician?
Excellent. So I would hire anyone from any background in this job, because I think I mentioned that part of what I did was interviewing and hiring, and my area of focus was fit. I'm much more concerned about whether someone has the ability to stay calm, to think through problems, and as necessary to assert themselves appropriately when that needs to happen. Those have more to do, dare I say it, with personality and character than what specific job someone is doing. My own background, I was a comparative religion major in college. So, it really is more about personality and temperament than what someone does. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is if you get into this world, I don't know how compatible this is for someone who's a musician, because when you do crisis work, that's basically it. I've joked, I'm not allowed, I've joked, to complain about things being canceled or rescheduled for the rest of my life, because I've had to do all of those so many.
Right. Well, okay. So we've accepted that musicians are, a possibly good fit for the job if they're willing to maybe let the music go for a while, because it's an all-consuming career, and that's acceptable.
Well, yeah. Let the music and their life go.
Right. And their life. Let's say that instead of becoming a crisis consultant, they just consider themselves a crisis consultant in their own line of work. What do they need to know? Like, musicians have to handle crises all the time, both personal crises and professional crises. Something goes wrong in performances are highly they rest on the head of a pin often, and everything's got to go right, and often not everything does. How do you teach people how to manage a crisis, and what can a musician learn from your skill set?
So, excellent question. You know, the nice thing about this skill set is everyone deals with crises at some point. Just kind of going through my head, what people can learn. First and foremost, yes. So Hitchhiker's Guide advice of don't panic is always good. One thing that I've found as I've kind of trained people in this space is just the importance of perspective. So here's a story. So, years ago when I was bringing someone new on, they had something that to them seemed like a crisis because they were brand new. And I said to them, okay, just calm down. Let's go to your desk. We went to her desk. This was decades pre-COVID when people still worked together. And I said, okay, sit down, open up Outlook, open up your calendar. She did so. I said, okay, let's go 3 months ahead. She did so. I said, okay, create a calendar reminder, 3 months ahead. And I want you to put the name of this thing that you're dealing with in it. She said, okay. So she did, she saved it. I said, okay, when that calendar reminder pops up in 3 months, I want you to come and find me. Because when you come and find me, I guarantee you, you're going to say, Christopher, I totally forgot about this thing until this popped up and reminded me. Jump ahead 3 months, it's exactly what happened. Because this thing that was right in front seemed like, just the worst thing ever. After 3 months, it was totally gone. I mean, completely out of mind. If I hadn't set that calendar reminder for her, she would have forgotten about it completely. All of this is to say, maintaining perspective is important. Things that seem huge right now will pass in time, generally speaking. There's a subset of things that's not the case for, and those are the things that you really have to worry about. But the shorter stuff, it's easy to lose perspective on.
So what I'm going to do is translate that into music speak right now. You're talking like, supposing maybe you're 12 years old and you have a recital coming up and it's really scary. And what you're saying is it's important to realize that after that recital is over, a couple months from now, it's not going to have the same importance to you that it has approaching you. And that's important to know. You do want to do well on the recital. However, its importance has weight just because of its it's coming to you. And that's true for anyone.
Yeah. And to kind of continue with your, with your analogy to kind of make it more real for people. Another key thing is there are fewer things in life that are unrecoverably catastrophic. One of the reasons that I kind of ended up in this space, going back to one question, is I growing up was very nervous and anxious, and I worried a lot. Joke that I don't worry as much as I did when I was younger, because I can look at something now and say, you know what, that's not the end of the world. I know this because I know what the end of the world looks like, and it usually has the words Microsoft Internet Explorer in it.
Oh, keep going.
But in seriousness, this is where perspective comes in, and the key thing is there are very few things that are genuinely unrecoverably catastrophic. Things can go bad, things can go wrong. Over time, you can recover from things, and as hackneyed as it may sound, you will almost certainly end up being stronger for the process of going through the trial and recovering.
Okay. So you had a bad performance. Now you can't ever have that performance again. How is that? How do you recover from that?
You recover from that by first, something that we do in my business is we borrow from the military. We do an after action report. So you look at what happened, what went wrong. you identify what went wrong, you come up with a plan for what to do to, you know, to improve that the next time, and then you go back and you do it again. And and that process, that's classic learning, first of all. But second, the process of getting knocked down, getting up, getting knocked down, getting up, getting knocked down, getting up, that builds resilience. And at the end of the day, when we talk about people and personalities and character, resilience is absolutely critical. Especially, now I'm going to go off my square a little bit, but especially when we're talking about a field that is, let's be honest, in many ways as brutal as music. I recall the saying, I think it was Frank Zappa, that said, nothing takes longer than to become an overnight sensation.
I love that. Yeah. Well, what you've said about resilience is very important, because it suggests to me that my next question was, well, okay, great. You can think about that recital coming up as something that will be past and gone, but you still have to get through it. And, what can you do to get through it in the moment? The first thing you told me is, by realizing that it's a recoverable event, you change your mindset in the event.
Yes.
Second, by going through that event many times with the recoverable mindset, you get better and better at surviving that moment.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, pay your dues, do more gigs, and you'll get better at them.
Right. One benefit of practice is it helps build that context that we were talking about and perspective. One thing that I always counsel people to do around crisis management is you want to de-emergencyify things as much as possible. And you alluded to this, the more that you can calm yourself, reduce the stakes in your mind, turn that performance from a life or death trial in your mind to just another thing that you're doing, the easier it will be, because you're reducing the stress and you're downshifting the fight, flight, or freeze response. This is where practice and experience come in more than anything, because just the more you do something, the easier it becomes. You don't have to engage the higher brain, other parts of the brain can kick in. And so, understanding that yes, this thing is important, but if it goes badly, the odds are almost certain that it's not going to be one of these genuinely unrecoverable catastrophes. This is where cultural context is important too. When you look at our culture, generally speaking, people love a comeback story. So if everything really does go really, really badly, there's still opportunity for comeback.
Yeah. And if you mess up and you recover, even if it's a train wreck, if you can recover, especially for little kids.
Sure.
Audiences love to see little kids recover from train wrecks, and they'll clap to the end of the earth for that. Now, I do want to push back on one thing.
Sure.
Obviously, we're talking about normalizing situations that appear to be crises to help get through them. However, you never want performances to be ordinary. You want there to be a certain amount of tension in them. You want them to be special. Is that something that happens in the business world too? Or obviously with a security situation, you want it to be as boring as possible, but are there times when you want situations that aren't crises to still be high stakes?
So I think it's important to differentiate, what I think of as positive and negative stress. I go back to the classic bell curve. You want to hit the top of the bell curve. You want to be, you don't want to be so not stressed that you don't care, but you don't want to be so stressed that the stress becomes an overarching thing unto itself. There's actually, believe it or not, here's an example that I give. I don't know how familiar people are anymore with the first Star Wars prequel, The Phantom Menace, but there's a scene in that which I talk about towards the end where Liam Neeson's character is engaged in a lightsaber battle with Darth Maul. And it's a crazy scene, and somehow the Darth Maul character gets locked in this chamber. I don't know if you remember this scene, but it's a chamber. It's got like 3 layers of doors, and he's locked in there. And the Liam Neeson character is on the outside. So basically, the fight stops, and Liam Neeson is waiting. They're both waiting for this chamber, which is on a time lock, to open layer by layer. And the Liam Neeson character, while waiting, sits down and starts to meditate. And he does that until the last lock opens. The Darth Maul character comes out, at which point he picks up his lightsaber and they start again. You want to find kind of the top of the bell curve in terms of being active and engaged, but not running around like the proverbial chicken with their head cut off. You know, one thing that is actually hard to teach people in crisis management is recognizing if you have a window of time, let's say you know something bad is going to happen in a day from now, and you've done everything that you can do to prepare for it. The mark of someone that's mature in this space is once they've done everything, they'll go and rest. Someone that's not mature is going to run around and try to find stuff to fill in that remaining time, even though it doesn't actually do any good. You know, and something else that I want to come back to that you had mentioned when you were talking about performances, in my space, and I think this actually will speak to your audience really well. In my space, one of the most important skill sets is improvisation. Improvisation is absolutely key in what I do. I've argued that being able to improvise is more important than being able to plan, because we have a saying borrowed from the military: no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. You know, you can plan all you want for a crisis. When the crisis hits, that plan will be marginally useful as far as what to do as things unfold, because invariably something is going to come into play that you couldn't have predicted. You know, every crisis is unique, and every crisis is screwed up in its own way.
And that is why we teach improvisation skills here at Willow School, Willow Music. In addition, because the art of improvisation has vanished largely from classical performance. Obviously, it's still a part of many other music performances around the world, from rock to pop. But, you know, I do personally instruct my classical musicians on how to play the blues and jazz if they'll go. For that reason, even if you don't want to play jazz, it's important to know how to be comfortable with many possibilities and to pick a path through them.
And you know, a couple things. First, you know, I'm not a musician, but you know, I like my music, and we know that Bach was a master of improvisation as well as composition.
Yes.
Second, you know, there's the old saying: if you're improvising, no one knows that you made a mistake, because you're improvising.
Well, it depends. It does depend. If you're improvising with other people, that may not be the case.
Well, no, because if you're improvising with other people, it means they made the mistake, not you.
Well, okay. I'm sorry I'm pushing back on you. I have to. There is a belief that improvisation is total freedom. And I want to push back on that because it's not useful. In fact, improvisation always occurs within a set of rules. And that's what makes it interesting to people.
Yes.
So yeah, it's true though that the opportunity to make mistakes and recover from them is greater in improvisation. And I'll go with you on that.
Okay. Well, there you go. Be all factual on me.
I'm sorry. I have to make sure I don't send wrong information into the universe.
No, I understand.
So, excellent. I want to point out, by the way, in this interview, I've edited this out, so it's all very smooth. And so the folks at home don't know, we've had about 19 breaks in this interview. We've had all sorts of times where the connection has stopped and broken. And Christopher Budd has been calm throughout. The reason you don't know this is because he has managed this crisis so very well. I'm almost tempted to release another.
There it goes again.
Hey, Yuri, you back?
I am. I believe you were saying something about we've had a number of hiccups.
Yes, we've had a number of hiccups, maybe as many as 20 hiccups during this interview, unprecedented number of freezes and breakups. Christopher
Yeah,
Budd has managed them all. I'm tempted to release a version of this interview with them all in there so you can see how he managed it. But
there you
the
go.
fact is
Yeah,
that
likewise.
you walk the walk and you talk the talk, Christopher Budd.
Oh,
And I
thank you.
thank you very much for sharing what you know with us.
Of course, thank you.
How can people find you?
Oh, I'm ridiculously easy to find. It's just both on Twitter and on my website. It's Christopher Budd, all one word, ChristopherBudd.com, and just Christopher Budd on Twitter.
Okay,
Um,
great.
you can, I write about computer security stuff and fun things like that. So anyone that's a musician and into computer security, you know where to find me.
Excellent. Thank you. And
Okay,
you
thank
can,
you.
thank you. You can find us, of course, again at willowschoolga.com or truermu.com. And if you have more questions for my guest that you'd like me to forward to him, if you can't reach him, I would be happy to do so, or questions for me, or what you'd like to see in these videos. We'd certainly like to hear your comments, and we'd certainly like to get likes from you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, take care. Thank you.